I got winter coat on.
Hello, everybody out there in the interwebs world. If anyone hears a cat squeal, it's just my cat, alright? I've stepped on his tail by mistake. Yeah, pretty much. Hey, there you go, look at that. His ears must be burning. How you going, Dr. Bob?
Good afternoon, Dr. Bob.
Well, good evening.
How are
How are
you?
you doing this morning?
Hot.
Yeah,
What
we're
are you cooking with?
31
There
degrees.
you go. That 99.
Yeah.
Yeah, here
So
everybody's air conditioner would be running.
in my language, that's 38 C. That's
Yeah, he's
bloody hot.
hot. I'm cold.
Yeah.
What's the humidity? That's what matters.
I don't know. Hang on a sec. What's the humidity in Adelaide?
Looks like there will be 18% humidity today in Adelaide, South Australia.
There you go.
Oh,
That answers your
not much
question.
at all.
Nah,
Yep.
it's just dry heat,
heat.
and it's
That,
no wind, so that kills it.
but dry heat's better than wet heat. Wet heat really
Oh yeah,
kills you.
yes.
Well, that depends on what you're used to also. Because I know dry heat, like Arizona, when I go out there in the summertime, shoot, my nose bleeds within 2 days.
Oh
And I've
yeah.
had it cauterized both sides and forget it. It just bleeds.
No, God, it's been a long time since I was in Phoenix, but I spent a year and a half putting in the first private phone network after the federal government allowed it to happen. Actually, we put it in. We knew they were going to allow it, and we turned it on the day that they said all right in Scottsdale Ranch.
Yeah.
And I wondered why, when I went out to take over the project, I was the technical person, and another one handled bookkeeping and finance and payroll stuff. And I come from Michigan, and the other guy came in from Florida. I'll tell you, I wondered why I gave jobs out to people. This is your team's task force, and you know, you go and do that. And depended upon individual team leaders because I like working teams. And if your team gets something done quicker, then you help another one because it was set up on how much I wanted to get done per day,
Right.
if at all possible. And they'd be there at 4 o'clock in the morning. And what? You're starting that early? And I learned pretty quick 4 o'clock's a good starting time
Yeah.
because it's still cool in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it had sprinklers on, cooling off the sidewalks because they they were hot and radiating heat. Just walking along them, you felt the heat come up. And if you sprayed, you ended up with almost a steam.
Uh,
I, but one thing I did like was
Oh,
water
that's
volleyball. The regular volleyball on sand, except where the two posts were that held the net up, they had
right.
oscillating sprinklers go back and forth to spray the players because they were all in their everybody had shorts, but they were what they call board shorts or
Board
baggies.
shorts. Yeah.
And they worked in them during the day with a tool belt so they could dump the tool belt and hit the pool. And that was another interesting thing.
Yeah.
Before any of the buildings went up, other than the uh, the two that were set up to manage, and they were the central office building and the maintenance center with a big garage we could store supplies in that had to be locked up. The pool went in, and that was common practice because you had to
Right.
have the swimming pool because that's where the lunch wagon hit, and then you hit the pool and sit back and eat lunch at 9:30 in the morning, 10.
Everybody gathers around the water hole.
Yep. And then they all went and hit the pub or the bar or back to the dorms. I hired college kids. They needed the money and they worked hard. But dry heat, I had no problem handling. Coming from Michigan, so all we had
Right.
is damp, wet heat. And the
Right.
jungles is just the opposite. It's not heat, it's hot rain
Right.
or hot mist. So
I
what you
spent 4
doing
years
today?
in Okinawa. I didn't get nothing
Yeah.
done. It was just busier doing family stuff. So it's one of them ball days for the shop part.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked
Getting
on a
every
bowl on a new project. I did one once before, but I'm gonna get something and put up to show. But it's a bowl that actually, in the center of the bowl, comes up with a flute,
Oh yeah. Huh.
and it's another little bowl inside or a platform. So you could actually put it's a you can get the stuff out of the bottom of it, big bowl in the bottom, but that's this funnel and then the flute. And out of the center of the flute comes up another stem, of which is going to be probably chrome or copper, I don't know. And then I'm going to put a little LED lights that light the whole thing up, and then epoxy the whole inside so it becomes a little waterfall.
Oh, that's cool.
Just something different.
Yeah.
But it's hard. God, is it hardwood? I don't know what it is, but it's. I've had to resharpen my carbides a couple of times on it,
Yeah.
and I'm down to using the 6 millimeter or the 3 millimeter carbides or 4 millimeter, because the harder it is, the smaller the cutter, the better.
Right.
Because
So
it
you,
cuts down vibration.
right. My wife and daughter are watching livestock auction on YouTube or on Facebook.
Ah, what did you cut up today?
Nothing. I didn't even make it out to the shop today. I did the Zoom with my daughter this morning, a little bit of her homework, and then I had to run errands out in town. And by the time I got back, everybody wanted to go eat, so we went to the Chinese restaurant. Well, it's supposed to be a buffet, but right now with COVID, it's just menu items. So we went
Yeah.
out there and had dinner. Got back, and I was just like, man, it's chilly out in my shop, and I don't have time to heat it up, so I might even bother tonight. I'll try to get it tomorrow. I'll try to finish up the rest of the ornaments cut out so that the kids can paint them this weekend. Now that
Yeah,
we're
I haven't.
all out of quarantine, we're gonna have our grandson over, and they're all just gonna paint ornaments.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculously bad in this country.
Yeah,
Now they're even taking temperatures on the Canadian side of the border, and we're doing it on the American side, except that we have swapped the people. So we have actually American presence in a foreign country, Border Patrol taking temperatures before they even allow them across the bridge because they don't have room to turn them around and send them back.
Right.
And the Canadian government doesn't have that authority because of the disease.
Mm.
And so we have to do it, but we do the same to the Canadians. So it works out.
Yeah.
How you going,
Hello, gentlemen.
Like Blake.
Howdy, Blake.
How is everybody?
Good.
Tired of cleaning the dog's paws because we still have mud. In the first place, the dog heads to after coming in the house is my bed, and with muddy feet.
Of course.
So I have a sacrificial sheet on it. I wish I had an old rubber sheet, you use for incontinence
Right.
that I could put on there, but c'est la vie. He thinks that my bed's the place he has to be, and at night that's where he ends up, sleeping on my leg or a knee
Right.
with his head on it.
Hey, Jay. I don't know if you said it earlier before I came in, but what's the wood today?
It's the same piece from yesterday.
Oh, okay. I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah, that's the outside that I did yesterday, and I put what's called a tenon on this side so that it can sit in the chuck in this bit here,
Okay. Yeah.
so I can drill it out. And I took it inside last night, and I put another 1.5 grams of super glue down into there. And there's also a crack that runs along there as well, and I'm kind of getting the strange feeling that it actually meets up with that one, but deep down inside. So I filled that with super glue last night,
Right.
just as a just in case.
Right.
But I'd rather try and keep that.
Slow down than blow out.
Sorry.
At least to slow down than blow out.
Yeah, that's right. It'll look good either way.
Right.
Hey, Sarge, I just sent you a picture of what I was doing today.
Okay.
You know, Dr. Bob, we don't ever really get to see what you do in your shop. We need to have you do a live one of these times.
Well, I take my time. That's a possibility.
No. Dale.
What are you doing, Jay?
That's scientific, all right.
He's using
Giving
the
the
high
whole
tech
finger.
tool. That's like torquing a lot of the bolts on the engines when I was working on C-130s. There was only a few of them that we actually had to put a torque wrench to. Otherwise, the rest of them were all German torque.
You know, Blair, I don't think I have a site for you here.
What do you mean?
Oh,
Like
Facebook
my
chat.
YouTube channel?
No, Facebook chat, so I could send you something quick.
You've been sending me stuff.
I thought, I just can't seem to find it.
Look for Blair, Blair.
Oh, yeah.
Last name
I
Denny.
see it. It's been a while since I sent you something, other than the Christmas party.
Holy crap, look at that. All crumbly.
There you go.
I must admit, Jamison, when I was a mechanic, I could judge the torque of bolts to within 2 or 3 foot-pound just by tightening them up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, we use German torque, good and tight.
Good and
Yeah.
tight.
Yeah.
I was watching Blair to see if he was watching the monitor or he just had that confused look on his face. I was going to see if he
Well,
would catch on.
Bob, you sent me a link to Jay's.
Yeah, I hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. Here you go.
That's where the confusion was.
Yeah,
That's better.
Good and tight is the brother of Frau Nice and Tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob.
That's my last 2 days.
That's when they were doing it with the Detroit folks, right?
Well, I'm doing it on my lathe, my shop.
Oh, okay.
It should be 2 pictures, 2 video clips.
Yeah, I got both of them. I'm gonna have to try that one of these times. I haven't done one of those.
But when you're doing the square stuff, the immersion, I like that. But the problem is how you keep and sand edges and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I cheat.
You cheat?
I just sent you my cheat.
No. Yeah.
I'm not about to send it by hand and keep it square and flat.
Yeah. There's just no other good way to do it other than that.
I also do the wings that way too. I just I have a jig that holds the sander and I can adjust it so as long as the bowl is centered, it'll spin and still hit it, so I can turn the sander on and hand turn it around on the face of it. But when I vacuum chuck it, nah, I don't do that. I don't know if it's lazy or I just figure that there has to be another way of doing it and I figure it out.
I'd say B.
I work smarter, not harder, kind of a guy.
And that was the project I did before the last ones. I'm just going backwards.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's really cool.
And that was probably about 6 weeks in all, because it kept moving and I had to let it sit, of course, when it moves. And I filled all the cracks and all.
Robbo, you sure are being quiet?
Yeah, I'm sort of wandering around the workshop a little bit. No, I'm wandering around the workshop a little bit, cleaning up, or tidying stuff up. Jay, you're cutting that the wrong way.
And there's some of the tool systems that I've come up with. And if you notice, some of them handle all the Sorby tools, but their Sorby bar isn't thick enough or long enough. So my boring bar system is a 1 inch. And we have a 1.5 inch if you're going to go 20 inches or beyond deep.
Yeah, those little flex joints, that would be interesting.
Yep. Well, Sorby comes with those. It's just that I made the adapters so I can put them into the bar, because the bar itself has it's a round pin that goes in, not just a pin, but it goes in and it's slotted so it locks in place because the boring bar has a pin through the bar. Mm-hmm. So what happens is you put the other piece in this way. This is a round bar, but there's a notch with a pin in it. So you're going like that, and it just stops it. It can't spin out. It's impossible to spin out. And the bar has a flat bottom because it's going through a roller system. and I carry that flat all the way to the end of all the accessories that I have for it, as you can see. That way, before I get to the knuckles, I'm perfectly flat. And you're not cutting at that close a range, but you have to have it flat because you want to make sure you can pull it back into the bar to the hollow roller system enough to get the head out so you can adjust the cutters. Don't ask me how I figured that out, but that was duh. I worked about a year and a half designing that system, and Carter Products, they they said that that's what they were after to make their system a better system. And you can see in the last photo when I gear it all up, because that's a snare drum I'm doing in there, a wooden snare drum. There you cannot have any vibration if you're tuning the inside of the wooden drum.
Try dropping your handle a little bit, Jay.
Oh, was that?
Try dropping your handle a little bit.
Caribbean.
That's better. Now you're cutting with the bottom of the wing rather than trying to scrape it.
What you been up to today, Robo?
Cleaning up. We've got our first. We got our first 3 students. Not this weekend. Next weekend.
Oh, do they have housing that they rent, or do you put them up in your mansion by
No,
the
they.
sea?
Well, we have got enough room to put them up if we had to, but most of them prefer to. Well, they only live within an hour of our place, so they go home. But we do have interstaters sometimes that stay here for a few days. Some of them stay in motels or whatever, but a lot of them stay here as well.
Ah, you got a name for your school?
No, it's just part of the business, just Cobb and Co. wood turning.
I've never heard the name of your business.
It's named after the stagecoach line, Cobb and Co.
Oh, that does add a bit of prestige to it. When was the stagecoach last run in that area to that site?
Oh, geez. Uh,
100
Over
years?
100 years ago. Yeah, over 100 years ago now. No, the reason that the name is that is that we originally, when we started, we had a shop in a stables called Cobb that were one of the staging stables of Cobb and Co. So we just took the name Cobb and Co. Wood Turning.
You got a logo for it?
No, I can't be a very good turner. I don't have logos. Got plain old business cards. Don't send out stickers. Don't have brands. Don't have anything.
And you don't expect to ever dress up in a tuxedo and turn a bowl?
No, not really. But
That
one
would
day
be
I
worth
might,
getting
just for the
on
hell of it.
video.
Well, I was dressed
I was
up
gonna
last
say, I
weekend.
seen your elbow all cleaned up.
It's funny, you know, we had a mechanic that used to work for us when I had the mechanical repair business. That he was an English mechanic, and he always came to work in a suit with a tie, and he'd just take his jacket off and his vest and put on a pair of overalls and start working. He had a white shirt, and he never ever got dirty. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he never got covered in grease or anything.
He didn't have coveralls on over the top of it.
Yeah, but he just, the only grease he ever got on was his hands, and he was ex Rolls Royce employee actually in England. He used to work on Rolls Royces,
Oh.
but one of the best Mercedes mechanics I've ever had. We used to work on a lot of the imported European cars.
You ever do anything with live steam?
Sorry?
You ever do anything with live steam engines? Train or, the big steam engines,
Yeah,
traction engine.
I love steam engines, but no, I've never. I've got a mate that's got a big traction. Well, a tractor. It is actually. It's a steam powered road roller, and I've repaired a few bits and pieces on it, but I don't have a boilermaker's ticket, so I'm not allowed to work on them.
Well, at least here you can work on them, but you still have to have them inspected and certified by a professional, that's licensed to do it. But
Yeah,
you
well,
can do all the retrofit and
yeah.
everything, and then they will test and pressure test it and all.
Yeah, I've done bits and pieces like that, but no, I don't have a boilermaker's ticket or anything like that. So
Trying to think.
I've got another mate that makes scale. I've got another friend that makes scale model steam engines, 1/10 size and smaller, and some of the stuff on that, like bolts and nuts and bolts that are 0.5 millimeter in diameter to keep scale.
Yeah. Not me. Not anymore, but I never could because of my vision.
Yeah, well, I must admit I have trouble seeing the flaming things.
Well, what's rough with me is I was born with my eyes, the muscles functioning separately, so I could move my eyes separate side to side, and they
Yeah, I
weren't
know you were
tied
telling us
together.
yesterday. Yeah,
Yeah, and the
yeah.
problem is I only use one eye at a time. And turning, it's like people say, but I have bad vision. I can't turn. I only have one eye. And I say, well, you don't know the half of it. I only can use one at a time. So I got to be careful, which I am looking at when I put a tool to the wood, because there's been some mishaps, all right.
Oh, I got two eyes, and I still have mishaps occasionally.
Well, what I typically do is that I know where I'm going to put it, and then I close one eye, and then I have no problem finding the wood.
I guess that'd be like using iron sights on an M16.
I'm just glad we had full automatic. But the M16s that we had were the faulty ones.
Right. Yeah, we had the A2s.
We didn't. We had the ones, and you couldn't.
Right.
You constantly had to clean them, and they
Mm-hmm.
failed 50% or more of the time. And then you get them clean, but how do you clean them? Because you couldn't carry. You carry patch kit and all, but
Right.
a little bottle of oil. you end up with all the muck from the jungle in it, and especially during the rainy season from October through February.
Yeah.
I mean, you were better taking it by the barrel and clubbing the person with the stock.
Now.
That's one reason why the AK-47 was so popular.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
you could.
Well,
I like the pattern.
the bullet you
Oh, you got
the
a
bullet
live
used
one in
to
there.
Oh, is that a bug?
the bullet used to rattle. The clearances were
Yeah,
that good
it
on the
sure is.
AK-47 that
He got a
I've seen
bug
wood
coming out
move,
of his.
but
He's got a bug coming out of his bowl. I'm
he
sorry,
found
the
the
wife got
prize.
interested.
It's like the
There's
prize
one,
in the
Jay.
it's like the prize in the Cracker Jack boxes. The doctor does surgery, or is it the landlord evicting?
Just dig in there and get him.
He's fighting back. It looks like. Get him drunk. Put a little alcohol on him.
Put some tequila in and be like the worm in the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah, there you go. Good old metho.
Now.
now get a match ready, Jay, and set it on fire. Cook him.
Just flash it over.
Oh. Now.
It's
Yep, here he comes. Ah! Now get the blowtorch. Holy crap, look at that thing.
wow.
Hey, that one's for later, Jay.
I didn't think he was that big. He was going to be that big.
Was there a hole on the outside also, or how did he get
No.
inside?
He must have been burrowed in when he was a micro dot.
So he's been living that way in the tree that long.
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
it's come in from the other side.
No, there isn't
No,
another
there's
side
two
to come
holes
in
inside,
from,
isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there'll be a way in there somewhere.
All right. We'll find it.
They come from the outside in. They don't come from inside out.
Might be that one. Yeah, anyway.
Can you get your tool rest into that bowl a little bit, Jay, by turning it around or not? Just to give you better leverage on the gouge.
There you go.
Drop it down a little bit if you can.
Hey, Robo, you love classical music.
Yeah.
Have you ever sung classical music other than at church or,
No,
you know, with a
no,
group of
jeez.
people?
Man, I'd clear 40 acres if I started singing, I tell you. I'd empty a shopping centre.
Well, I think you could be a good baritone, at least maybe 20 years ago or 30.
No, no, I'm tone deaf. Have been for ever since I was born.
That meant you could have been a good rock and roll singer.
Well, I could have done
In,
that, yeah, because all I do is yell, and I'm good at yelling.
yeah, but I don't know. If you were in the era, then you'd have to wiggle a lot,
Oh, I can do that
be an
too.
acrobat. Oh,
No, the only time I ever sing is when I'm by myself. And
in the
then, man,
shower.
oh no, I sing around the workshop. I sing along to a lot of the songs I play. I can rival Pavarotti in my own mind, I tell you. Now, just be careful how much weight you put on the bevel there, Jay.
Yeah, I have to dig up an old hard drive of mine. I've got when I was at the Olympics there. I forget that was a long time ago, but I
Year
picked up a
2000
couple
in
of
Australia.
yeah. Uh, yeah, I went down with a TV crew, and it was interesting because I also was down taking pictures for a network. Right, at that time, it was a PTL club, and I really enjoyed the time. We were down there 3 weeks before and a week after to clean up and take our stuff and cable out and get it all packed up so it could go back in the container. We shipped everything down in a container and got it back that way. But I also picked up a lot of the Australian music that I really loved. It sounded like a different style of country music like I've never heard before. I got probably 7, 8 singers albums.
Yeah,
Wow.
best bush singing they call it.
Yes. Wow. Blair, what's the new uniform for you or a
That
jacket?
was that was my 2002 Winter Olympics.
Oh, you were there too.
I was.
What in? What participate?
I was in at one of the ski resorts, and it very rarely comes out of its bag, but I'm gonna hold on to that for a good long time.
Yeah. Oh, I love the opening ceremonies. That was some of the best I've ever seen.
Oh, they were fantastic.
It's interesting to actually, you're the first person outside of the broadcast industry that I have met or known that was at the Olympics. I did Calgary and one, what was it, Atlanta?
That would have been cool.
We gutted a production truck completely and put it in rack form. And when we got there, we put the racks in the area we needed it and ran the cables. And we were part of the, what do they call it? Like a network team, because we worked with ABC. Uh, we were able to get,
We
because
got echo. We've got echo somewhere.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah, it's not mine. But we did, at that time, our standard was NTSC broadcast, and we went along with the two other U.S. companies and supplied cameras and everything to cover it, because our broadcast standard was different than European as it was Australian. So you had to have different cameras, everything to cover it all. So it was as if you were doing it by yourself, but you had to run around like mad. We had almost 5.5 miles of cable. And it was cheaper to leave it behind than take it back.
That's often the case, though, Bob. It's cheaper to leave stuff there. Like, done a lot of maintenance out in the outback and stuff like that. It wasn't worth bringing a lot of the stuff back, so we used to just leave it on the station.
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully that eliminates the echo.
it was interesting putting and laying cable in, but what impressed me the most was the opening ceremony. That was beyond anything I'd ever dreamed of. It was like a person that was doing a Broadway show here had got to it. Perfectly timed and on ice. Oh, it was fantastic. And the lighting of the torch was very unique. What did you participate in, Blair?
So I was up at a ski resort, and they were doing what was it, Super G?
Yeah.
And so I was one of the managers for the what do they call it? It just the tent that everybody came and ate at and did breaks at and all that kind of stuff. And I had a team of 12 that we would make sure all the caterers got up in there, made sure all of the food and all of the snacks and all of that kind of stuff, everybody was taken care of.
Well, with the Atlanta Olympics, that was totally different, because there we were the first use of smart chip cards in North America. It was for room access, and Coca-Cola paid for them all because they gave everybody $25, all the Olympians, $25 on their ID card, because the ID card was a chip card that got them in the building, in the room, in the events or venues that they were allowed access to backstage, because that you just simply put your card in a reader and off you'd go, because it was a way of controlling people. But it was also the Olympics where they had the shootings, and that wasn't good. That was a bummer. But
Yeah,
they couldn't get in the building. The cards kept them out of the dorm.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to say it was a fun time, because I mean there were times when yes, it was fun, but we had to be up at the resort at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I mean in Utah at 4 o'clock in the morning it is just bitter cold, and then as soon as you get up to the resort, just away you go nonstop all day long. It was a long 10 days.
Oh, he's going to glue the bug in. Well, now he's
Sometimes the best wood putty.
yeah. But he's got a religious bowl now. It's holy.
There you go. Or better yet, Jay, you could utilize that hole and turn it into a yarn bowl.
Yeah.
He didn't like that. I don't know why.
Well, they sell for good money.
That's true, they do.
Homes.
Yeah.
But knitting has become a lost art for the young.
Yeah, true that.
But that's something that when I was getting treated for PTSD, that was some of the people that are clinicians, to be polite. They had some that just wanted you to relax and concentrate on something different, and knitting is one of those things that they really push. I just wouldn't do it. But with the patterns and all the stitches and everything you had to do, but it made you focus on something different, and you had a reward at the end if you did it right. But that didn't do it for me.
How hot you going, Jay? You in the hundreds yet?
Yeah, just.
Oof.
But that didn't.
I was gonna say it was 99 in there when he started.
It's only just on 100, or maybe just over it now. But
Yeah.
Jay,
all
the
right,
hot turner.
summer is. I wouldn't say that. I'd say the fat turner. And Amber can be the pyro turner.
That wouldn't attract viewers.
You don't reckon?
But the hot turner is different.
Yeah, they'll get disappointed when they come in.
Well, you can green screen yourself.
No, this computer's too crappy for that. It won't let me do it. I've already tried. My gaming machine upstairs will let me do it, but not this shitty little one out here.
What games do you like?
Not much these days. When I first built the PC about 7 years ago, I used to be right into what is it? Call of Duty. The online version though, only the online version, because I got to shoot people, you see, instead of just AIs where you get used to where they're running after a while, so it gets boring.
Yeah, the online game
that one,
here.
and another one called iRacing, but it's only an online game. Yeah, the NASCAR drivers and stuff use it to practice on tracks and stuff, because all the cars and tracks are laser scanned, so it's pretty accurate when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they did that at the beginning of the season too. Right after lockdown, they actually used those IR racing or whatever. They did that at the beginning of the season this year.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty popular. It's got it's called V8 Supercars over here. It's basically like Australian version. I kind of like NASCARs, I suppose, but they're all on circuit tracks. They're not on ovals or anything like that.
Right.
There's a couple of those cars in there, supposed to attract more Aussies into it. But it's not too bad, you know, especially if you've got the coin to spend on a nice wheel and pedals and stuff like that. You know, it's good fun.
Yeah.
I just got too angry playing that game.
Crash too many people.
Yeah, I'm the I was always the arse end of the group, you know. Doesn't matter how much I pumped that accelerator, I'd never catch the people that were up the front.
Yeah.
I don't know, my favorite, if it's a computer game, are the mystery games where you've got to figure out, find clues, find passageways, whatever.
Yep.
I enjoy that quite a bit. And
Is that a game or an app?
No, well, it's both. And the kids love Roblox.
Computer games and apps and nothing
Yeah.
alike. Sorry, they're worlds
Well,
apart.
it's scaled down. But Roblox is that's making a ton of money for the people that wrote it. Everyone's they're buying extra things and they're getting addicted to exploring and shooting.
Yep. Virtual shooting these days.
Oh yeah. You ever play games, Robo?
Yeah, I used to play a lot of Red Alert when it came out, and another one called Commandos, which was good. And I'm like you, I like the mystery sort of things where you got to work out things and press this button or work a series of things to get things open so you could go further.
Oh, I'm playing one of those now on my phone. When I got sitting the VA, nothing better to do, I could get my cell phone out and play with that.
And Jay'll know what I'm talking about, but many years ago, Rundle Street, one of the arcades down in Rundle Street in Adelaide, put in these rally driving games where you sat in the seat and had the steering wheel and the pedals and everything. And I was standing there watching that one day, and a whole group of young kids are there playing it and this and that. And I said, "You mere amateurs, you boys," because I kept crashing and everything. So I said, "All right, old man, have a go." What they forgot was that I used to compete in rally cars. I cleaned them all up and won about $100.
They deserved it.
Nice.
I had a Fiat Spider in college, and that's a nice sports car. Then I used to get involved in rally racing with a capital R, and I liked time and distance. I had a navigator that was from a room directly below me, and he'd sit there with a double stopwatch and a map, and I had to have the odometer, a new odometer put in, simply because it had to be more accurate, because we had to change the gearing out on it, because it would say 1.25 miles and turn left. And they'd take you on a route where there might be 2 left turns, but they're like 300 feet apart. And that's within the margin of error of a normal odometer. So I had to get that. I got involved in that.
And
That was
we
fun.
used to use things called halders, which are very, very accurate odometers, and they have twin ones, so as you're measuring the distance from your last waypoint and the distance
Yes.
to the next waypoint. And then
Yep.
my navigator was my brother, and he was an excellent navigator, like me, can read a map like a book. And we won quite a few events actually.
I really enjoyed that. And we had uh, one a month during summer, and then the winter there'd be one, but that got carried away where it was all done on approach skis and snowshoes. That was fun.
Yeah, Jay, that tool rest is a fraction too high. Down further.
And that,
Jay, you want it just a little bit below center point.
Bit more even. I'd almost sit it right down on the. It looks like it could almost go down onto the stop.
the rally the people who made the rallies up, it took them months to get them, and it cost us money, usually between $30 and $100 to join a rally. Part of it goes to the prize, but part of it was to the kit, that the rally kit they would give you in a box, and it would have maps, and it would have clues, and a bunch of guidebooks that you might be able to solve the problem with. Because the ones I liked were fairy tales, and they would give you a fairy tale, and you'd have to figure out where your turn's at. They would say, and a pail of water, and then you'd wonder what nursery rhyme is that, and you look at your map ahead of you from where you started. What could that be? And that would be your next clue that you would pick up, would be there. And
yeah, well, in Australia we call them treasure hunts, but our rallies were full blast through the scrub at 100 kilometres, 140 kilometres an hour sometimes. On very rough roads. I used to direct 2 rallies a year for our club, and always enjoyed directing. We actually laid out the section for the Australian section through the Alps here in winter time for the London to Sydney Marathon in 1978.
Yeah.
We had to do it in summer, and then go back again in winter to make sure the roads were still open and not snowed in. That's why I hate snow. Cold, wet, slushy, mucky stuff it is.
Yep. I don't like it either. Not to mention it's cold.
That's why I said cold, wet, slushy stuff.
Yeah, the time and distance ones, that's where I first got involved, because our season of rallies, there'd be one a month. And one would be time and distance, where it would say 22 and a half minutes turn left. So
that's all right.
And they give you the speed.
That's all right.
They give the speed that you had to go, and then the next step was something different, and it would be, you could get so screwed up on country roads. Oh, and the saving grace was uh, within the first mile of any turn, there would be the rally poster or sign up on the wooden stake. So you know you were on the right road. But if you went a mile and you didn't see it, you'd have to back up and try again.
Yeah. Just be careful doing that edge, Jay. If you're going to get a catch, that's where it'll be.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of bug holes in there to watch out for too. I feel the tool bouncing on it.
I don't know. It's interesting because here, if you got a bug in your vase, you'd wonder who's listening in. A different kind of bug. You were a mechanic, weren't you?
Yeah.
The my car had SU carburetors.
SU were my specialty. I could balance. We had a racing car that used to come in that had 6 SUs, one feeding each cylinder. And I was
Yeah.
one of the few people in Australia that could balance them.
Oh, well, I only had a 4-banger, but still, they were. The problem was is that you had to have a whole box full of needles.
No, not necessarily. Well, it depends on where you were, but we don't. In Australia, we don't have that problem. We don't have altitude problems. We haven't got high altitudes or low density air or anything, so you can pretty well set them at sea level and they'll still be right, even on top of Mount Kosciuszko, our highest mountain, you know.
This was in the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, it just depends on how rich you want to run mixtures, really.
Well, I know when I used to drive home when I bought my car and all, and wanted to go show it off to my sister and brother and parents, and they're in Michigan, and I came from the Rocky Mountains, and I had to, on the second night out, had to go and change the needles because I was back down close to sea level.
Yep.
Within 500 feet to 1,000 feet.
What people mainly stuffed up on SUs was they put the wrong oil in the dampers. That was the biggest problem with them.
Yeah, I got yelled at that over that from a mechanic. But I don't know anything about cars. I just enough to change oil and stuff like that. And they never fascinated me like a lot of people do.
You want to know something? I know nothing about cars now too. Don't want to.
And my wife always asks me, she goes,
sorry, what's that?
my wife always asks me, she goes, how could you work on big $1 million aircraft and can't work on your own car?
Well, I must admit, I don't work on mine anymore. Although having said that, I had to diagnose a problem with I've got a Renault truck, and it kept locking in gear on the electronics. And the dealers wanted to pull the gearbox out because I reckon it was a gearbox fault. And I said, no, it's an electronic fault somewhere. And we had argument after argument. Anyway, it was proved it was getting voltage spike out of the alternator, and of course the electronics shut down because of over voltage, and it'd lock it in gear. So, but I had to do something I didn't want to do, and that was buy an analytic, a bloody meter reader to plug into the system to find out what the heck it was. I had to learn all over again. But I must admit, it's different working on aircraft engines and motor cars these days, although aircraft engines are getting fairly electronic too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I worked on the Vietnam era C-130s. By the time they come out with electronic J models, I was on my way
Yeah.
out the door.
C-130s. I used to love C-130s.
You ever
Yeah.
jump from one?
No, that's my definition of relief. We were
I never did either.
over a very dark in hospital North Vietnamese jungle, waiting on the back platform for the light to turn green. And just as we went to step off, the jump sergeant grabbed us by the harness and pulled us back and said, "They've called it off." And I don't mind admitting it, I wet my pants. So that's my definition of relief, not jumping out of the back of an aeroplane.
No, I spent 11 months with Air America in their C-140s. They'd fly our group in, and I'd maintain the listening devices on the Ho Chi Minh. Be there for 3 weeks, and then get picked up and go back and get more parts and get drunk and get the courage up and go back out and do it again. But we'd fly to a forward base and then chopper in.
Yeah, no, we had a thing with one of the two C-130s were delivering supplies or something, and we asked the pilots how slow could they actually go. So both of them got together and they were having a slow race virtually. How the thing was hanging in the air, I don't know, because it was going that slow that a bird flew in through the back door.
Yeah.
That's how we used to have to in-flight refuel the helicopters is fly at stall speed and have them going at full
Yeah.
throttle just to keep up with us.
Well, at least the early C-130s that I was in, and the helicopters too, you sat on your helmet.
Mm. Yeah, we had those
Well, our children.
net seats.
Yeah, we did too, but a rifle shot would go right up through the, the plane
Mm.
and hit you in the ass. And the helicopter, it would get, as long as you could shoot straight up, you'd kill the pilot and
Right.
co-pilot until
Well,
they ended up
we had a,
putting heavy metal in the bottom of the helicopters and the Jolly Greens.
Yeah, that's what
we
we
had
did with the C-130s before we transferred them over to the J models. Put in big armor in the old Legacy birds. Go ahead, Robo.
we used to fly in by chopper quite a bit, and our pilot Chuck, good American name Chuck, he used to take his flak jacket off and sit on it.
Oh yeah. They just had no sense that they had to put in sheet metal, heavy sheet metal underneath of it. But when they did, they upset the balance of it, and they had to learn to fly it over again and get some of the nav equipment. Uh, it was really screwed
Recalibrate.
up. Yeah, because you were uh, forward heavy or bow heavy. But if you rode in the back, you always sat on your helmet. That was it. Once you were in country, when the pilot said we're in country, you'd sit on your helmet because they didn't armor
Jesus,
the
lucky
back
it
end.
wasn't one. Lucky it wasn't one of those Kaiser's helmets, with the spike on the top.
Yeah. We just had a paid announcement.
That camera's not working for some reason. I don't know why. Considering it's the same camera that you're looking through now, but it's got the mini cams thing linked to it. I don't get it sometimes.
Strange.
Yeah.
I've got to say, Jay, this is one of the best pictures you've had for a long time.
Yeah.
They must have been doing network maintenance or something yesterday for me to have such a bad reception.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I just had my Hero, the new router that Amazon bought out, network controller updated in software. And now when I do a speed test, I'm at 980 download.
What were you before that?
About 250.
Okay. Yes, very noticeable difference.
And upload used to be 25, and now we're at 40. But I have a full gigabit service that I subscribe to now.
Kind of makes my speed sort of look very sick. I got download at 41 and upload at 12 if I'm lucky.
Yeah, that sounds like yours is standing still compared to Bob's, Dr. Bob's.
Mine used to be slow, but they just been through updating and putting fiber in. The hub that my neighborhood is on, actually the street that I'm on, 2 streets back to back, is off of one hub by itself. And they feed it with fiber, and then they come to coax to the house.
Wouldn't it be nice to actually bring the fiber into the house and to the computer rather than go over copper?
Yes, and that'll probably come. My sister, she's in Manassas, Virginia, and she's got fiber to the house.
We got fiber to our house.
The little box for it was, I forget what she's paying monthly rent, but it wasn't cheap. But
we got cable too. Fiber cable, whatever you want to call it.
As a matter of fact,
the majority of ours is all still copper wire, which is a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Like I said the other day, we only live 400 meters from the telephone exchange, but our cable network or the wired network is 7 kilometers to get to that exchange because it goes out the other way from our place and then comes back again.
Infrastructure is something that was never thought about. And people are just now getting, cities and communities are getting more and more involved in it. And here, the utility poles are owned by whoever puts them up. But they sit on a city easement, and they pay the city a tax to be on that easement. So the city gets some income from it, but then again, it's an easement that they own. And everybody, the phone company has their cable, the utility company has their cable running on top, and then underneath of that is the the people for cable TV and telephone, and they make money off all three. But that's
And
an income city.
my brother-in-law just got the fiber ran up to the apartment above my garage, and they had to drill through my wall from the shop because they couldn't find any way else to get to it. And when they first started, they went into the steel, the floor joist, and they finally had to drop down and go through. Once they got through, though, they ran the big bundle across my ceiling, and then they had to drill a hole in his floor down through my ceiling. And I thought for sure he was coming through the light when he did it, but he missed. They ran the big bundle up and then separated it out and spliced in the fiber. Pretty cool.
Well, that's the way it's going to be when you actually have hard wiring. But the other thing that's going to replace it uh, is what Comcast is been beta testing all over the U.S. for, and they got the sole license to do it. And that's running on the old UHF TV channels and actually broadcasting because they bought when UHF went out, and that's ultra high frequency. What it stands for, but there was those channels allegations that were changed and put up for sale as an auction, and they from our FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and Comcast, along with four of its owned subsidiaries or subsidiaries that they soon bought out, picked up all of the old TV frequencies. And their idea back then, of which they're still playing with, is to have totally wireless connection to the house because the antenna only need to be 18 inches high. So they'll put an antenna and then they'll put a box and then connect it from the water meter, the electric meter, the gas meter, and you tie it to your TV and your network because the carrying TV channels multiplexed on a fiber is just utterly ridiculous anymore because you can tell the head end what packet you want sent to you because it runs at such a high speed. But that's where it's going to. And Richardson, Texas has been the city that's a big test area for probably 10 years now for development of software and hardware.
You're right there.
Yep.
And it's not new technology. It was developed here and then it was put in Sweden and Denmark. They decided to do testing on it, and then it somehow got to China, and that's what China uses now. The same. So each village has an antenna, and then you log in like a Wi-Fi signal to that central in your village, and that gets you telephone and everything. And all you need is a little antenna on top of your house.
Yeah, you were talking about everything being on the power poles. Well, that's one of our jobs as contractors, go around, change out the power poles that don't have enough clearance to put on, say, the transformer and TV and phone and fiber and all that stuff. So we're having to put in bigger poles so they can get all that stuff on there and stuff clearance.
Yeah. But within 10, 15 years, in a lot of areas, that won't be needed. Rural America will be fine, but it's changing with this new system. I say Denmark uses it, and China is all moved to it. And the computer protocol that actually is being used is SIP, SIP. that's when I knew that inside and out and helped develop and test a bunch of the stuff on it when I worked for Uncle Sam.
Right.
Because the boxes they're testing in Richardson, I still get their newsletter from Comcast Automation. They take a smart card now, so you can pay your bill by just shoving the smart card in the box.
Nice.
And you can actually have user IDs that are hard IDs, to where you plug your ID card into it, and then that is pre-programmed for whatever you can do, and they allow and keep track of how much time you've had it. So you could say you can't play more than so many hours of games this month. But that's never going to fly.
No, because then they'll have packages where you can extend that out or buy extra time or something.
Yep, that's the idea. Get the parents to spend the extra time, because you're sitting there and you're going to disconnect and not be in the competition in 5 minutes unless you put your card in and give more money. That's the idea. That is looking beautiful on camera. The way the light's hitting it really is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Awesome.
Nature did a good job.
Yeah.
No, you brought it out. It's like the Egyptians took a piece of rock and look at the stuff they made out of it in carving.
Yes.
It's the person, not the material it's made out of. It's not as if you were a Pied Piper and had magic tools.
Wow. That's nice, Jay.
Cheers. At least the knot stayed in it. I just got to dig out the wax out of there, but that's not much. A little bit out of there
easy.
too.
Turn it upside down over a heat, a cigarette lighter, something.
Yeah, no, I've got a toothbrush that'll get that stuff out easy.
A hair dryer.
Yep.
Well, you want to melt it out or melt it into the hole. It will protect it better if you melt it into the hole.
Yeah, it's the microfine, Yorkshire Grit microfine.
I got to get a can of that. I had one, and it's somewhere been misplaced in the last year. I can't find it.
Got sucked up in your dust system. I know Robbo finds a lot of pencils in there.
You ever find your 10mm sockets?
Yeah, they're at the bottom. They get tipped out.
No, the workshop fairy takes all my pencils and sticks them somewhere.
They just go to Narnia.
Right. That's why I bought a tool vest or an apron, and it's still a little challenging to get used to, but at least I have my pens and my markers and my tape and all that stuff right there. So no matter where I'm at in the shop, I don't have to go running around for it, as long as I put it back in the right spot.
No, not the dump table.
Right, yeah. The flat surfaces that suck up everything. Hello, Bailey. Bailey Woodward.
Good day, Bailey. How are you?
Hang on, Bailey. Is John doing a live now, or is that just an old notification I got?
Yeah, John's doing a live right now.
Yeah.
I popped in for a minute.
give him a shit stir, and I should pop in there. He'd be like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Does he use StreamYard?
Yeah.
Then send him a link. Then he can link one inside the other.
I sent him a link for today, but if he's got his own stream, that's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say they just sent me a link. What, half hour ago? I was like, man,
Yep.
I am gonna make it an early night, but I was already here, so I figured I'll just stay.
There you go, wherever you want.
Oh yeah.
I'm holding your arm behind your back. You have to stay here.
Yeah, I've had several people who I've talked about this crazy group and at night they've watched the reruns of it, and it's like, I wonder if we can start one with our friends and we can do the same thing. Just sit back and you can watch. And one of them is actually the wife does a lot of knitting, and another friend's wife does the same thing. So they're going to have a get together where the guys are going to play chess because they love chess, and the women are going to knit, and it's all going to be online as a private evening, just talking as if they were sitting around the table at home. But they're not going to post it.
Right.
Just for themselves. Because the language supposedly is sometimes isn't appropriate for anyone to want to play back and hear.
Right.
How the hell can you have bad language in a chess?
Sorry, Robbo.
How can you have bad language in a chess game? No, you get angry enough.
Switches to a finished piece of beach. Hey, Jay, you done? Jay's here.
Can you hear that? I said, how's it going in John's live?
Well, he could, if you send him a link, he could insert you into it and all of us, or vice versa. As
No,
long
they
as you open,
They thought my live had finished, but I just said that I'm still going.
You can find my YouTube. I can't remember his name right now. Basically, he takes a piece of wood, like a piece of timber, turns it into a dowel, and it starts.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear it.
Last year, and it turned into it turned into something not what I wanted.
There's Billy talking.
Yeah, that's Air Force.
All right, I'm going to go finish this now since I'm nearly done.
Because in StreamYard, you can have him open in another browser, and in doing so, how's that work? You can create that other browser as a scene, and now you can use that scene and actually bring it up inside yours.
Sounds too technical.
I've been watching YouTube tutorials on it.
I'll let you do it.
If you would email me or put it through the messenger, a GIF of your logo, because I'm practicing on being able to make all the custom stuff for StreamYard.
Oh, it's just the map of Australia. There you go. Look at that.
Oh, but not yours is a little different. You've got it colored in and where you're at and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right, I'll do that.
Being a techie, an old techie, I'm decided I was going to try to see what I could learn to do with this. So I'm embarrassed the kids are better than I am at something. So I'm going to play dumb and play dumb. Let them teach me. I learn something and then they feel good about what they're doing. Help the old fart out.
Jay, use your bowl gouge and work towards the headstock.
What was that?
Use your bowl gouge and work towards the headstock. Don't use a parting tool. Yeah. Use the outside wing of the bowl gouge. See, look at the shavings you got off. And a much cleaner cut.
Well, Blair, what's your day been like?
So I actually switched jobs. I'm on day 3 of a brand new job. And right now it feels like I am a glorified janitor.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I'm not doing the stuff that I used to, fixing this and that and all of that. I cleaned, 12 stainless steel elevator doors today.
Yeah.
And
Are you a cleaner or a janitor?
What's that?
Are you a cleaner or a janitor, or both together?
Yeah, I'm all in one.
Yeah.
The place that I'm at now is brand new, and it's only been open since May, and they want to keep everything all beautiful and all of that. And the guy that was there, it was just getting too overwhelming for him, and so they brought me in because the other job that I was doing, I pretty much hated. I was driving around all over, Utah, and I was actually going into homes that were just nasty, and I was having to use my own car, and it just wasn't a good deal.
Yeah. No, it never is when you have to use your own vehicle. That's for sure.
Nah.
The same
So,
company?
No, it's a different company. I ended up taking a couple of dollar pay cut, but still it's worth it because The other company I was with, they didn't offer insurance and holiday and time off and all that kind of stuff. So this will be better. The only bad thing is I have to work Saturdays now.
That's a weird thing on Jay's picture coming up out of the bottom right hand. It looks like a person with a wire art picture of a person, 2 legs, 2 arms,
Oh,
and a hair for a head. You see what I'm talking about?
yeah. It's kind
Looks
of
like a sculpture, a wire sculpture.
they're zip strips. I think they're holding his fan or
behind the
something.
lathe, Jay, not that one. Down towards the floor.
Yeah, that's it.
That one.
Oh. Well, that's what it looked like.
Probably screaming out, "Help me! Help me!"
It gets much hotter, you have to put a radiator on the motor.
Now, if it gets much hotter, I'll turn the lathe around and have it facing the door.
All right, guys, I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna go hang out with John for a little bit, and head to the bed.
No worries. Thank you for coming.
Catch you tomorrow.
Catch y'all later.
Take it easy.
Good night.
Good night.
You need clamps, don't you?
I like the bottom part of that bowl, Jay.
Yeah, something different, hey? Something a little different. Bit like me, really.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said it's a little different. It's a bit like me, a little different.
We're all a little bit different.
Sorry?
We're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a bad one? Oh. Yep. Yeah, I've got theirs open on YouTube.
So what sort of stand do you use? What?
I found a neat trick with StreamYard. You can have video as long as you're in Chrome and you've established your connections in Chrome. You can take what's on another browser, open a second browser in Chrome, and StreamYard can treat that as if it were a camera.
But you're not putting them behind glass, though, are you?
And so some of them are maybe
Yeah, that's an interesting idea there, Dr. Bob. I seem to get worse and worse as technology gets better.
I've not tried it yet, but I've watched a couple of YouTube videos where they were demonstrating that technique. so you can have multiple cameras other than the camera that you have on your device.
Yes. I put the link in the chat, Dr. Bob. If you're interested in scroll sawing. I'm nearly done. I've basically just got to sand that little bit off there and give it a polish, and I'm done.
Very nice. Looks really good, Jay.
Thank you very much. It's bloody hot out here, and the least time I spend out here, the better. Right?
Yep.
I don't blame you. Go in the house and go get cool.
The earlier you start, the better it is for us.
What was that, Bob?
The earlier he starts, the better it is for us.
True that.
You just have to watch, that's all.
Well, Cindy Drozda's having a Christmas party program. It's just $12 to sign up, and she's got a bunch of giveaways that she's done. She's not necessarily advertising it everywhere, though it is on her site that it's a Christmas party. But at the last class, she really talked about it and how she was putting it together. So if you want to get in on a good Christmas party with a bunch of other people who's going to be coming and dropping in and out, it should prove to be an interesting 3.5 hours for your $12, and a good chance to win some of her artwork and tools.
Ooh, did you say tools? I like tools. What did they say? The one who dies with the most tools wins?
Well, I've heard that.
You know, I think if I was to get any more tools, what I'd want is maybe a carbide round that I can do hollow forms with.
How big?
I don't know, you know, maybe 1/4 inch, just something small, nothing, you know.
Round?
Yeah, a round one.
Have you got a bar to mount it on?
I don't. I'm thinking about just getting one off of Wish.
Well, the size bar is going to tell you the size cutter you're going to need.
Right.
And I have found the smaller the cutter, the harder the wood you can do with it. It's good for detail, don't get me wrong. I love them for detail, but like the big bowl that I showed you and the one I'm turning into a fountain, that is so hard. It dulls tools constantly. So I use, especially to get down into the bottom for that centerpiece, because that's hard to get down in there and cut that funnel and keep that funnel at the same perfect sloped angle. Now I got the problem of how I'm going to sand it. I got to come up with a jig that's on that kind of angle that I can get in there. I'm still thinking about that, but it'll be a jig fixed to my tool rest or tool post. But the smaller, the better. It's less vibration, and vibration kills you.
Mm.
The more vibration, the more you need sandpaper, the more you bust your knuckles and affect your breathing. The problem is you got to use it at high speed and have a steady hand if you want to pull a clean, long cut.
Well, I'd be willing to give it a chance. Right now, that's probably my biggest challenge is being able to do really deep bowls, or vases and stuff like that. I just can't get a tool in there that will give me leverage enough so that I can hollow the thing out.
Is that a hint?
No, I'm just telling you my woes.
I'll have to look. I've got some 1-inch bars, but they're all set to handle my tool holders.
I'm sure if as Blair's concerned, I'm sure you're more than welcome to take it as a hint, Dr. Bob.
Well, if you just happen to have one extra laying around, or Utah, not too far away.
No, it's just first class postage.
Well, yeah, throw it in a UPS box. It's only $10 or something like that. I'd be happy to Venmo that.
But if it's just the cutter, and the bolt, then you have to drill and tap, make your own bar, and drill and tap it. Do you have any metal working equipment?
I don't. I'd have to run down to Woodcraft or something like that and get me a bar.
Not the kind of bars I use.
And I really don't like going to Woodcraft. Unfortunately, they're pretty pricey stuff. They're pretty proud of their stuff.
Yeah, I got a $50 gift certificate I'm waiting for in the mail because I won it in a raffle at the Mid-Michigan Woodturners 2 weeks ago, and they haven't received it, so I got to call the president and see where it's at.
Nice.
But we have all the clubs here online have raffles, and anybody who attends, like Cindy's, it's just spinning wheel and up comes a number, and if that's your number, you won. And the
my club, my club had their Christmas party, to which I didn't even want to attend. It was all online.
I sent you ours online.
Yeah, that's Sunday, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I plan on dropping in on that one.
Good. Because that's the one thing I think that causes clubs to die out, and that's new blood. And it takes a lot of work to get someone to drive to a meeting to see what you're doing, and you get announced, and all of a sudden there's 100 people stand up and stare at you, or turn around and stare at you, and then they fight over wanting to know who you are later over coffee, and then that seems to be the end of it. And I've seen that happen so often. Though being online, it's a little different because there's no intimidation. You can sit and chat and you're part of the group, and you seem to see how you fit within it. He's giving his bowl a brush.
Yeah, that's it. With Amber's toothbrush.
Ooh.
Don't tell her though, eh?
I wouldn't.
She doesn't watch my live, so I'm safe.
Is that toxic wood? Do you have her insured for double indemnity accidental poisoning too?
Yeah.
That's how you're going to get a new lathe?
No. No, she bought a new toothbrush the other day, so I asked her if I could have her off before she threw it out. So.
Yeah, I do that here. The nice thing about that is you cut a lot of the bristles off and just leave 1 or 2 clusters to get in little cracks, and it's a nice stiff little brush. And I
This
always
one's
cut
not
the
too bad.
handle off. Yeah, I cut the handle off and I cut a lot of the bristles off, the bundles off, because that way you can at one end say the tip I'll keep it the way it is, but near the handle I'll clear it off and just leave 1 set of bristles.
Yep.
The stuff around it there, because if I have a crack and I want to get the crack cleaned out, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, you
No,
could always
I use-
sand down the handle and turn it into a pointy bit too.
Yeah, but if the brush is already there, you just take it and drag it through the crack.
Yeah.
But if you
yeah.
have other bristles sticking out so it won't go in, that's a problem. Either that or I hit it with 150-pound air pressure from my compressor, and it blows cracks out for good.
I've only got whatever pound comes out of here.
I'd say if you live closer, I'd say come by and I'll give you one.
No, fine, thank you. I think what Robbo is giving me is very generous. I don't know, thank you. But I do appreciate it. I'm going to run away now.
Very good. Well, we will see you tomorrow night.
Yes.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Or if you want to do it a little earlier, that would be good too. That way you're not quite so hot.
Yeah, I might do. Depends. I went and cashed in the bottles again this morning, so I spent all the morning counting and crushing. You know. So. All right. Thank you very much for coming in.
Yep, my pleasure. Thank you.
See you guys.
Much.
Thanks for the invite.
See you later.
Yep. Good night, Robo.
See you,
Stay out
Robo.
of trouble.
See you,
Bob.
Bob. Jay.
Good night, Blair.